Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Just Saying Football with Jack and Sean. I'm your host, Sean Gann, alongside my partner, Jack Nicholas. We're here to bring you news, notes, weekly updates, and game analysis of your favorite teams from around the league. If you don't have the chance, go check out our website, justsayingfootball.com, and follow us on Instagram at JustSaying, no G, WJS for article and video updates. We are back in the studio.
Here we are.
Should have bet the over. If you didn't, I told you we were going to be back. Meniscus or otherwise, we're going to be back here.
There it is.
And we are here for the Sunday Superflex on week 4. Let's kick it right off. My Minnesota Vikings taking on the New Orleans Saints in London, Tottenham Spurs Stadium, I believe.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts going into this one? It's 9:30 a.m. on Sunday. The drinking's going to be early. The games are going to be early Sunday. So rest up Saturday.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be an early one, 9:30 Eastern. It's going to be, for the Cali peeps, it's going to be 6:30. Going to be really brutal. But you will have the Vikings coming off a win here. The Saints, coming off a loss. You're going to have to see the Saints here kind of adjust without Jameis Winston, possibly Andy Dalton starting. But, it's going to be interesting. We saw Dalvin Cook get a little banged up last week. He's day-to-day, so I'm interested to kind of see if, they involve more Alexander Madison. And, I'm trying to see the running back scenarios usually in this game. New Orleans versus Minnesota are usually very encapsulating, but this one's not.
Yeah, Christmas last year was tough. 6-touchdown game to Alvin Kamara. That was absolutely unreal. Like you're saying, though, Andy Dalton's in 2-2 record against the Vikings. Lost last time with the Chicago Bears when he played with them last season. With Jameis Winston, I don't know. This game, I think I'm going to have to rock with the Vikings just right off the bat. Like what we saw last week, came out of a 14-point deficit and a 10-point deficit. Despite the fact that I never really felt that we were in that game. You can ask Jack, who's with me at the bar. I was freaking out the entire time. Didn't like it. Did not like it. Thank you, though, KJ Osborne.
Big shout out.
I just think that without Jameis Winston, it gives us a little bit something extra right there. I do think that without Dalvin Cook, it does change the scope of our offense a little bit. Although Alexander Madison last season really stepped up for us, really doing well. I just want to see a little bit more from Justin Jefferson. Last 2 weeks, he's been clamped down. Granted, he's been going up against 2 good cornerbacks. Okuda's been having a pretty good season to start the season. And Darius Slay obviously has been dominant the last few seasons.
Yep.
But I really think this is the Vikings game. I just have high hopes for our offense. We're flying out on Thursday, which is a little bit weird. We're landing in on Friday morning and then games Sunday.
It's a little tight.
Saints are already there as of Monday. Going to be interesting to see, but still rocking with Minnesota.
Yeah, so I'm going to rock with Minnesota on that one as well. I feel like they cover that spread too of them -3, 100%.
Yeah, all right. Let's move it right along with our MEC game. New England Patriots making their way to Green Bay, 425 game. Green Bay currently favored largest spread of the weekend. 9.5 point spread, 40.5 point over under. Mac Jones is going to be out, suffered a high ankle sprain. He's hoping to avoid surgery and the IR. 4 to 6 week recovery time usually on that. Brian Hoyer, next man up mentality. What are your thoughts going on this one?
Yeah, Brian Hoyer for what seems like his 5th stint with the Patriots. But Green Bay, last week it seemed like they finally got something done despite the fact that they are receiver depleted at the moment. Romeo Doubs stepped up last week. He had,
great rookie.
He did great, 8 for 73 on 8 targets, so he didn't drop a single catch. He had his first career touchdown. I'm very excited to see, like you said, this is the biggest spread of the weekend. So I'm expecting this to be one of those Packers games, get Aaron Jones involved, get A.J. Dillon involved. This is going to be a weaker Patriots offense than we expect week by week for a little bit, like Sean said. So I'm going to say out the gate, I'm just going to go with the Packers and take that out the gate. I don't know about the over-under, that 40 points. That's going to be leaning on if the Patriots actually get some stuff done offensively.
Yeah, I'm definitely going with the Packers on this one. I hate to say it, and then we'll be, still kind of tied. We have the division win over them for that, but I think without Mac Jones, it really kind of limits this offense, what they're able to do. Brian Hoyer, seasoned veteran, will probably be able to move the ball at some points, but Green Bay defense has been solid all season. They only allowed 12 points last week up against the GOAT. They did allow a bunch of points week 1, but didn't allow a bunch of points week 2. So I have high hopes for this defense, and they'll be able to shut down the Patriots offense. Let's move right along in our MAC category. We have the Cleveland Browns making their way to Atlanta. Cleveland currently favored by 1 point. 49.5 over under. What are your thoughts going into this?
They're expecting some high scoring in this, and I got to say, I think that Atlanta presents a lot more creative offensive matchup than we saw last week with Pittsburgh. It seemed like Pittsburgh was constantly punting against this Browns defense last week. But the great thing is this matchup's going to feature the only 2 running backs right now that are over 300 yards. Along with, Saquon is very close. The fact is we have 2 of the top leading running backs right now, Cordero Patterson and Nick Chubb right now, who's leading the league with 341 rushing yards for the first 3 weeks. We knew he was coming this year.
We did know that.
Who are you thinking about in this game?
I think it's all going to be the Nick Chubb show. It continues to be. He is also leading the league in touchdowns. Currently has 4. I do expect him to find the end zone in this. With this 1 point spread, though, it's a little bit different. Amari Cooper, back-to-back 100-yard games. Love to say he's finding this flow now with Jacoby Brissett.
Totally.
But I kind of like the Falcons. I don't know why. They just seem to be this like fun team that's doing some things here and there. Cordell Patterson is 30 years old plus and is still making some amazing plays. He jumped over a guy, hit a guy with the hit stick. I like what they're able to do offensively, and I think you've seen some positive signs from Marcus Mariota. Drake London's really starting to get involved in this. We saw a lot more from Kyle Pitts. Arthur Smith said it's going to be a game-by-game plan with him, so take everything you see into account with that they're going by game. But I like Atlanta in this. I think it's gonna be a good game. They got their home crowd right behind them. I like them in this one.
Yeah, so I mean Atlanta intrigues me. I'll oppose you. I'll go with Cleveland just for the sake, but I do want to agree with Sean here that this offense for Atlanta is very interesting to me in the sense they have a rookie. They have rookie receiver in Drake London. They have Kyle Pitts. They have this Cordell Patterson in the back who's really more an X factor than a running back. And then you look at all these situations where with Cleveland, I think at the end of the day their defense is a little tougher, but we have to admit the Falcons are a very sneaky team this year. We saw them do it last week. We saw them, kind of sneak up on LA after LA got a big run. I like that team. I will, go with maybe the run game of the Cleveland Browns, keeping it as a lower scoring game. But man, if this game gets out of hand, I like your Falcons pick. No lie.
All right, absolutely love it. Moving it right along. NFC East matchup, Washington Commanders making their way to Dallas to take on the Cowboys. -3.5 spread to Dallas, 42.5 point over-under. We just saw Dallas win against the Giants on Monday Night Football. That was a tough one to see. What are your thoughts going to this one? Washington struggling.
Yeah, Washington, this is one of these teams this week that needs a win. There are a lot of teams we'll talk about through this episode where you see, they're in tough situations. A couple weeks ago we were like, hey, what are these teams going to be? Now we know that some of them are going to be struggling for the playoffs like Washington. Carson Wentz is doing great, but it's not enough at the end of the day for them to become a really tough team. Dallas is looking good with Cooper Rush. I got to admit, seeing with my own eyes, he looks very poised. He looks like he's got stuff down. Dak should be back next week. So it's going to be, the Wentz versus Cooper Rush show. I think the Commanders, I'm going to go with them out the gate because they need to win this game. There's a lot of motivation. Ron Rivera doesn't like having this tough start. They've been unhealthy. They're still waiting for guys to come back from injury. But Dallas this week, I went with them last week. I think that the Giants were a little less gritty of a matchup. This Washington team is going to give Cooper Rush a lot of pressure. So I will go with them. Dallas is favored right now by 3.5. So I will go with Washington on that one.
Yeah, I hate to go opposite of you and go with the Dallas Cowboys on this one, but look, it's not pretty from Cooper Rush. It's not, but he's getting the job done and he's making the plays when it matters. We saw the Saquon Barkley touchdown. What do they do immediately? Right back to the Giants. They answer right back with the marching down the field, scoring a touchdown. It's a one-handed catch by CeeDee Lamb. Great catch, not the best catch, one-handed at Meadowlands. That still belongs to OBJ. Don't know why that was even a debate online.
Everyone was debating like people haven't made one-handed catches in Enzo before.
I know. We saw the George Pickens one just a few weeks ago, but that's besides the point. Let's not get too far into that rabbit hole. But I think he's doing just enough, and also defensively, the Cowboys look great so far. Micah Parsons is playing like the defensive player of the year. Yeah. Lawrence Taylor had to go talk to him after the game.
Yeah,
that's how good he's playing. The greatest defensive player of all time, Lawrence Taylor, and Giants great. Had to go talk to a Cowboys second-year player because that's how good he's playing, and he really is playing the defensive player of the year. I like what we're just going to see from that defense. I think Cooper Rush can do just enough to get it done. Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott also starting to get back on track. Sorry, I just had to finish my thought.
No. I didn't mean to cut you. I just think in my head, I'm like, wow, you're right. But the defense, it's all about really the defense, and it's about Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence. Last week, 2 sacks for DeMarcus Lawrence. Micah Parsons, the thing about me, 3. Yes, 3. After having none in the first 2 weeks, he got 3 last week, unfortunately, on my guy Daniel Jones. But like I said, the real thing here is about pressure to the quarterbacks with picking Washington to win. But Dallas, they need to do that with Carson Wentz. They're familiar with him. They should be able to do something about that, make sure that the former Eagles guy feels welcome back in the NFC East. But I do like. I'm interested in the Dallas defense for the rest of the year.
Yeah, it's gonna be definitely one to watch. And Dak stitches off, trying to come back sooner than people expect.
He said maybe next week. He said maybe this game, but they said no way. And then he's maybe playing 5? The Rams next week. So
interesting one to see. Let's keep it right along. Seahawks making their way to Detroit to face the Lions. Lions currently 4.5 points favorite, 48 points over under. I'm sorry, after just watching the game against the Vikings, I got to go with the Lions on this one. I really like what we've seen from this team all year. That was their game last week. Why they went for that field goal is beyond me. I'm not the head coach. I'm not there. Maybe, I can't make that call, but they were 4 for 5 or 5 for 6 on fourth down attempts against the Vikings that game, and on a 4th and 1, they opted for that field goal that ultimately costed them the game. But they controlled that entire game, I felt like, as a fan. The Vikings were never really in it. Yeah. And to me, I think they're just going to keep with that momentum. They have this grit mentality. And I really do think the Lions are here to play, and not a team that you can take lightly. Mm-hmm. Despite the injury to DeAndre Swift, Jamal Williams still a great running back. He's never gotten to be the guy, really. So this will be interesting to see, though, for the first time.
No, I like that. And, we talked about this team a lot, about how the grit is. We talked about now with, no DeAndre Swift this week, it's going to be kind of tough. It's going to be on the Jamal Williams. It's maybe TJ Hawkinson gets a little more involved there. Never know with him. But on the other end, Seattle, Geno Smith not playing too bad this year. I'm very excited to see, he's become very accurate. He's 79 for 102 on the season. He's got 4 touchdowns. So I'm looking to see him take advantage more of DK Metcalf, who will be lined up against Jeff Okudah, who's been playing excellent this year. But, since 2015, Seattle does have 4 wins. It's weird to me. They got a win, last year at the end of the year, 51-29 against this team. Not to say this team is at all the same, but maybe that spark comes back this week for Geno Smith. He's 4 weeks in. Now maybe he starts to make that stride where his production goes up a little bit more. But I got to tell you, the Detroit at 4.5, They could easily get that. Detroit could walk away with this game. We saw them have a high-scoring game against Philadelphia. We saw them take over with the Vikings last week.
24 points.
I actually, I will go with Detroit. I wanted to oppose you there, but I got to tell you, you sold me on the sense that I think that their defense and their grit is actually going to win them this game. But the over-under 48, I got to say, don't like that. I am going to go under on that just because I don't like the offensive output of either of these teams.
I will just say the Atlanta Falcons Seattle Seahawks game last week was 50 points. They did hit 50, 27-24 win. Just going to throw that out there.
You like that? You like the over or the under?
I'll just to oppose, you'll take the over. Just after what we saw last week. I think it's a big game like that. All right, moving it right along. We have the Chargers going to Houston to take on the Texans. 44 point. What does that say? 44 point over under.
Oh, I think
5.5 spread.
Yep.
My bad. Wrote it a little bit weird in our Google Doc. Anyway, LA's favorite currently in this game. I'm sorry, but right off the bat, I got to oppose. I think that LA is not favored. I think that the injury to Joe Burrow is apparent. They've been missing Keenan Allen, who might be back this week. Justin Herbert.
Yep.
Oh my God! But also the injury to Keenan Allen that they've missed the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I like the Texans. I don't know why. There's something about them. I feel like this week is one of those trap games. It's that fight, but it's also this feels like a trap game for the Chargers. Joey Bosa might be hitting IR. They lost their star player. Their secondary just got walloped last week. You have the injury to Herbert. You have the injury to Allen. The Eckler is not getting the start that everyone was expecting in a fantasy perspective and in the NFL. So it's just this team right now is in a weird spot, and I feel like every single year we're so excited about the Chargers. Every single year's injury.
I was gonna say you are the Chargers guy. You're the ref, and it's like every year there's something unfortunate that's out of control that kind of happens like this, like an injury,
exactly,
or something that would move them down.
And look, that's a rib injury. You don't just it's not like an arm. You wrap that up and you just let it heal. Like I've had 2 broken ribs on both sides, and it's not fun. Like.
Does not sound fun.
It's not. It doesn't really heal. You can't wrap it up. You just kind of got to lay there and do nothing. But when you're an NFL quarterback, you can't just lay there and do nothing.
It's like, what are you going to do? Exactly. You have to look at the sense of is this Texans team at home motivated enough to look at their opponent, their divisional opponent, Jacksonville last week, who we both underestimated and came out and played a great game.
Soon.
But I mean, for me, I'm interested to see if the Texans can do this. I'll go with the Chargers.
Safe bet.
Safe bet, But I love that Sean brought up the fact that we finally get a little trap game. It's finally starting to feel like it's a trap game because if the Texans do win this, Chargers are going to be in a really bad spot in that AFC West division.
Rashawn Slater is also out for the season. Jerry Hughes has been playing really well for the Texans. There's a chance here for them to go after Herbert. This injury could get worse if he gets sacked a lot. All right. Let's keep moving right along.
The report is killing me, though.
I know. Rashawn says now you want to see that dude is looking so good in year 2. I can't wait to see him back on the field next season. All right, but let's keep this moving right along in our Met games. Chicago Bears making their way to New York City to face the Giants. Giants currently favored by 3 points, 39.5 point over under. What are your thoughts? Sterling Shepard out for the season, torn ACL. It's a brutal loss for the Giants. He was really coming in the clutch there towards the end of that game. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, this is tough. I mean, luckily, Chicago right now, they have the least, when it comes to total yards per game on offense, they are the worst, thank God, because the Giants, somehow are, putting output out there, but their opponents have kept these close, and they've been in these low-scoring games so far. I do think that this game, I was saying this off camera to Sean, is kind of like this Texans-Bears game we saw last week. It's going to be a lot of running, very low scoring. I think it's going to be gritty. But the Giants do have a good advantage to take here. They're at home. They're just coming off that loss on Monday. They need this win if they're going to, compete with Philly or Dallas down the road. David Montgomery a little banged up last week. Shout out to Khalil Herbert, 20 carries last week and dominated and got the win. But right now, Chicago, a little too low statistical output for me. This is the lowest spread of the weekend, 39.5. But I got to say something before I get it over to my guy Sean. The other day we were at the game, only touchdown of the Giants all on Monday. He whispers and he goes, "I feel like it's a touchdown." And here comes Saquon Barkley.
Hope I can bring that magic again for
I
you
need to let the people know he brought that to life.
I did. It was a nice little moment, but I gotta go opposite of you for the Giants on this one. I think that the loss of Sterling Shepard is a huge loss for the passing offense. That was Daniel Jones' guy. That was the guy who he felt most comfortable with. Mm-hmm. He's building a relationship with your rookie tight end, which I like to see. Saquon Barkley, I think, will have a good game, but I just think that the Bears are going to be able to completely shut down the pass. Daniel Jones looked a little bit rattled last week. He made that late-game interception, which was brutal, which he hadn't really done for the first few weeks. Yeah. And, you worry, is he taking that step back? Like you were saying, I think it's going to be a really low-scoring game. It's going to be another, 16-14, 16-13, 19-16 game that we've been seeing with them. Yeah. Literally what we just saw. So, I just don't know if that... I just don't know if Daniel Jones is going to be able to take that step that he's going to need to in those crucial 3rd and 6s, 3rd and 4s, 3rd and longs. And who is he going to throw to? There's no Sterling Shepard anymore. Is it going to be Kenny Galladay? Probably not. Is it going to be Kadarius Toney? I don't know. Is it going to be David Sills? I just don't know who his new guy is going to be.
You got me thinking because I'm I don't know what the what the adjustment's going to be. They got Kenny G at the top of the depth chart, then he doesn't start. They got Tony starting, and then he only plays 5 snaps. They got David Sills out there running around. They got Richie James. I have to say Richie James has been a very he was kind of buried in a depth chart in San Francisco for a long time, but he's a great speed guy. Ran some great routes the other night when we saw him. I feel like that's what they have to do, the Giants. They're going to have to adjust, use Kenny Galladay, use Tony, and use Richie James, and because that is the best you got right now. I'm praying the Giants keep this close and get the win, though.
All right, I love it. Moving it right along, we have the New York Jets making their way to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. -3 to the Pittsburgh Steelers, 42.5 point over-under. What are your thoughts going into this game?
Man, I feel like this could be a very low offensive statistical game, but it also could be a huge game. I think that if Zach Wilson comes back and he utilizes his weapons properly in this Rob Saleh offense that we've seen actually be pretty solid with the passing so far, I'm interested to see them against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Without TJ Watt, it becomes a little bit easier of a matchup than we had predicted earlier this year. But Minka Fitzpatrick's still out there.
Still patrolling that secondary.
I'm not messing around with him. They still got Miles Jack, Cam Hayward. But the Jets have been playing decently well, I got to say. Last week against the Bengals, that's just a good Bengals team trying to get themselves right. And, you still got Joe Flacco running there. I think that time is over, though. I think it's fully Zach Wilson's reigns with Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, and Elijah Moore. So I'm excited to kind of see what the Jets are able to do on the road. I do think this will be a low-scoring game. I think the 42 over-under reflects that. But I wonder if because of maybe a Pittsburgh quarterback having low statistical output, they could be in a little bit better of a place.
Yeah, I think that Mitchell Trubisky definitely not the answer, but Mike Tomlin sticking with them for right now. I'm all about sitting rookie quarterbacks for a year. I'm never against it, truthfully.
Yeah.
I understand if you're a Steelers fan why you want to see a rookie and you draft him in the first round. That's what they're there for a lot of the time. But I think that we've seen that development has been keys to successes for a lot of young quarterbacks at times. There's nothing wrong with that. Kenny Pickett was the number 1 overall pick, number 2 overall pick. Yeah. He was drafted later in the draft, and that's okay. Nothing wrong with that. let them sit. Yeah, let them take their time. Mitchell Trubisky has a similar play style in terms of their athleticism. Mm-hmm. You just hope that Kenny Pickett just sees the field a little bit better than him.
Definitely.
And, I think that the Steelers have a great defense. They continue to have a great defense. You look at some of their players, and obviously the defense can turn the tide in 2 seconds. I'll rock with the Jets one more time. I think that Wilson coming into this is going to be a little bit more fun. He provides a little bit more of that running that, Joe Flacco doesn't run.
Yeah.
I think it's going to open up the playbook a little bit more. You see a little bit more play action, maybe a little bit more to Breece Hall, maybe there's a little bit more of a connection there, a little bit more to Michael Carter. I do think Elijah Moore is really going to get to see a lot more looks this game. That was his guy last year. Garrett Wilson, having a good start to the season through 3 weeks, had his first 100-yard game, 2 touchdown games a few weeks ago. Let's see how that Wilson connection is, but I don't know. I think the Jets might just surprise randomly. Maybe not. It's probably not going to be a super high-scoring game, but 17-10 win sounds realistic to me.
Honestly, and they were able to do it, a couple weeks ago with Cleveland. I kind of want to see them do it again. They're 1-2, and this is kind of optimistic time for the Jets right here.
Yeah.
Starting with a Pittsburgh Steelers. If this was last year, this is a totally different matchup for us. It's more of a blowout game. With this, I think that Steelers, I don't know, 3.5 is too much for me. I think that if they win, they'd win by a field goal. New York's going to keep it tight. Like you said, Mitch Trubisky's not so good under pressure. I am going to go with the Jets on this, even though I do enjoy the Steelers. I really did. You sold me that on that. There's a lot of potential that we've seen building with this offense. Like Sean said, we got the number 2 overall pick, Zach Wilson, from a couple of years ago. You got from last year, and then you got Breece Hall this year. You got the exact guys that you need, plus the defense is getting better. And if you have a matchup like this early in the season, the team's healthy, I do want them to try to shut down Najee. That's going to be the first thing they got to do. And, it's going to be Sauce Gardner versus Deontay Johnson. I got to say, the way that Sauce Gardner's been playing the first 3 weeks, I'm going with him.
Yeah, Sauce looks really, really good. If you're a Jets fan, you're probably being like, this is what we wanted. Darrelle Revis 2.0. All right. Moving right along to our good games of the week. We have the Tennessee Titans making their way to Indianapolis. Indianapolis favored by -3, 42.5 point over/under. 2 great running back matchups for sure. Obviously,
maybe 2 of the best in the game. Right?
Exactly what I was about to say. Tennessee got the ball going with Derrick Henry, and we saw them be really, really comfortable offensively.
Yeah.
So right off the bat, I think you got to highlight that as something to watch in this game. I think Tennessee's success for the rest of the season and for this game hinges on how well they run the ball, and it's been proven the last couple seasons.
It's true, yeah.
That being said, I think that the Colts have a great chance to win this. I really do. They got this huge win against the Chiefs. They're riding high. They're still back in Lucas Oil Stadium. They have the home fans once again. It was the defense that got them the win. With no Shaquille Leonard out there, still dealing with the coming back from the back surgery. I don't know who I got in this one, so I want to hear what your thoughts are, and then I'm going to make my decision.
No, that's excellent. No, and the thing is for me is both of these quarterbacks, these are vet quarterbacks. You got Matt Ryan for the Colts, Tannehill, 3 touchdowns each in the first 3 games. So not really what you'd expect. These are guys we see, throw at least 2 touchdowns every week. Tennessee in this, division rivalry, they have the last 3 matchups, and they were, big blowout games. They had beaten them until last year. There was a 3-point game, but I got to say one thing about this. This, like you said, comes down to who's going to run the ball, manage the clock, who will have the ball at the end. This could be a very tight game for me. But, if everything is better at the end of the day for the running game, it makes sense because these 2 teams have probably the worst receiving spots right now, especially with Michael Pittman banged up for the Colts. It's, he's been doing great, but if he's hurt again this week, if Robert Woods is still acting like he's banged up from his ACL, you can see him getting a little slow on the Titans. Not a lot of production yet from Treylon Burks, even though he kind of showed up last week. So it is going to be contingent on these defenses. And I got to say, I do trust Indianapolis' defense a little bit more when it comes to these tough, low-scoring divisional head-to-head games for me. It really comes down to, can you manage the clock? Can you have these weapons that will make those plays at the end of the game? I see that more in Tennessee, but weird enough, the on the offensive side, I see them having more of a big play opportunity with one of these receivers that I just hated on. But somehow you also have, Jonathan Taylor and that defense for me are more than the potential that I said for the Tennessee. That's really what outweighs it for me, is that if Jonathan Taylor goes off and Derrick Henry goes off, I still think the Colts overall will play a better game. And that for me at home, Indianapolis is really struggling. Both these teams need a win. They need, especially with Jacksonville getting good, the AFC South is about to get a little heat up. Whether we know or not, these aren't going to be teams that have huge wins, but this division is going to be close, and this is a huge game for both of them. I do think that the Colts are a team that needs to win this week, so I'll go with them.
I like that. I think you're absolutely right. This is a really, really important game, and it's why it's in our good games categories, because currently in the AFC South, Jaguars lead. They have 2 wins, 1 loss. Then it's Colts 1-1-1. That tie is going to be huge later on in the season. It's already huge right now. It's a super annoyance. Titans 1-2, and Texans 0-2-1. It's a crucial game. Brings you to 2-1. Jaguars, we're going to talk about them next. They're playing Philly. That's a tough game. It might not be a win. That could be huge implications. All of a sudden, one of these teams are 2-2, 2-1, and it's looking pretty good for them. So I do agree with you, though. At the end of the day, I think if Jonathan Taylor gets going, you trust a little bit more with what you've seen from Matt Ryan and what you've seen from this offense, what we just saw from the defense last week. Yeah. And that Ryan Tannehill just looks really off. I think that from the comments that we've seen in the offseason, from the A.J. Brown trade that we've seen in the offseason, to just everything that's been circulating with the Titans, it just seems to only be affecting him, and it's just not what you want to see. I don't think that means go to Malik Willis right now. I don't think that's what that means currently, but you're just not seeing Ryan Tannehill be...
Yeah, he's no longer that play-action threat without A.J. Brown. I think that if Michael Pittman were to play in this game, I like Indy way more. But the receiving core of Indy is always going to be weird. But like you said, the real factor is losing A.J. Brown. We're finally seeing with Tannehill not having a guy to throw to 150 times a year is going to be a real big problem. You have no more Jonnu Smith, after the last 2 years. So we're definitely seeing production go down. And, I know they got Austin Hooper, but that is not going to be somebody that's going to really, change the offense at this point in his career. No. So who are you going with?
Indy. I was agreeing with you taking that defense and the offense of the Indy can definitely just kind of stop them. That home crowd will be there. Yeah. Well, let's move it right along. Jacksonville Jaguars just making their way to Philly. Philadelphia currently favored in this game, -6.5 points, 46.5 over under. Is it time to take the Jaguars seriously?
I think it's actually weirdly time. You asked me that on Sunday when we were watching the games. I think it's really weird that we have to say it. But like we just talked about, this division is going to be a mess by the end of it. And if somehow Jacksonville is on the top, this can be a dangerous team. Right now, their defense is doing some crazy stuff right now. I was talking to Sean before, +7 in turnover margin. This is going to be the game that if Jalen Hurts is going to have one of those big turnover kind of games, this is it. I doubt that he can do that. He's been playing one of the cleanest seasons we've seen so far out of a quarterback. But this Jacksonville defense is not to be underestimated for the rest of the season. As long as they're healthy, they have a lot of great players. They have Trayvon Walker, first overall pick from this year, Josh Allen. A lot of these guys are just playing to a very high level right now. But Philadelphia, there is no team maybe that's playing at a higher level either. So I'm interested. This is the clash of the weekend I'm looking for, is this Philly offense and the defense. It's a very underrated matchup. Jacksonville defense there.
I think this easily could have been in one of our games of the week with the way that Jaguars have been playing. But I'm going to lean with the Eagles. They're undefeated. They're playing really, really well. The A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts, Devonta Smith, it's everything that we were talking about in the offseason that it could be. Yeah. Living up to that potential right now. They just look really good offensively, defensively. I just don't see what's stopping them right now. I don't know if the Jaguars are the team to do that. I'm also very curious to see the Christian Kirk and Darius Slay matchup in this one. How are they going to do that? Because that's been Trevor Lawrence's guy all season. What's going to happen now that he's up against one of the top cornerbacks currently to start 2022 and in the last couple of years that we've seen? The Jaguars have a great defense. I don't think that it's what we've seen the last few years. It's going to be 14-0 right off the bat within the first 5 minutes against this Jaguars team. But I think this could be a really good game. I definitely think that. Look, Trevor Lawrence come off a 3-touchdown game. It's everything that we were expecting him to be the last year. That sadly just didn't happen because everything that was going on with the head coach, Urban Meyer.
His head coach was out of the team by the time we're at this point of the season.
Yeah, so
crazy.
I think that this is their time to. I think that this is a great time for the Jaguars, but I think that the Eagles are going to have their number in this one.
And, we were just talking about how A.J. Brown leaving Tennessee affects the fantasy output of, Ryan Tannehill at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. And then you also have, A.J. Brown coming to the Eagles, which has honestly been such a boost. And with Devonta Smith last week, 8 catches, 169 yards on the touchdown, made that sick touchdown catch and the big one before. Everybody saw those, kind of all week they've been servicing. But I like you said, the biggest thing is we haven't seen Trevor play like this before. I got to say it's hard for me to bet against the Eagles. But the Eagles 6.5. This game is going to be, I think, closer than that. Like I would take Jacksonville against that.
Oh, all right. I like
that. You think the Eagles will win by more than 6.5?
No, I think. I'll take the Jacksonville on that. I thought you meant like Jacksonville's like your pick because all right,
I got you. Line I'm taking.
No, I'll definitely take the Eagles. But no, I think like 5-point victory to the Eagles sounds more realistic than a 7-point victory, basically.
Yeah, like something that with this defense, I do feel like this is the week, like I said, where these turnovers happen in those games. They lead to crazy scores because, it's not just as simple as going up and down the field. Things are complicated. You can get safeties, you get random things. There's all these crazy things with these kickers too, good kicking teams. But like you said, I'm interested in these matchups. I want to see how Darius Slay responds to Christian Kirk. Christian Kirk has been great this year. He's got 18 catches. I believe he's the wide receiver 6 in PPR formats on fantasy right now. So you got to admit, the thing I think is if Jacksonville can stop the running game of Philly and contain Jalen Hurts, that could be a huge advantage to them. But it's impossible to do that this year. It's
been pretty hard. I don't know what will happen this weekend. I'm excited to see the defense that can. But moving it right along, we have the Arizona Cardinals making their way to Carolina to take on the Panthers for a 5-game. Carolina currently favored by -2. 43-point over/under. Arizona,
what's going on?
Yeah, not what people thought. That week 2 comeback in the final 2 quarters was great, and then it went right back to 4 quarters of poo-poo.
It's the Cliff Kingsbury method. It has to be
just the air raid offense.
We can do this as much as we want with the four quarters at the end of the fourth quarter. But when we're playing the whole game, it's a mess until we get there. And I think that it's getting old now. I think for Kyler Murray, where he's like, geez, I really, really want to win. But the tough thing for me here is you're looking at Baker Mayfield coming off that win last week. It looked like the first time the whole season that the Panthers actually looked like they had their offense in tune. I do like that 43 line. I think that these teams will wind up scoring a lot more. It may be Carolina that lacks in the scoring this week. But I have to say, they're at home. I do like Carolina more with Baker. It's tough for me to bet with Baker. I'm not a huge Baker guy. I like the upside of Kyler Murray, but this is one of those Panthers defenses. This is one of those defenses that really messes you up. They really, kind of throw your game plan off. They, hit you hard. They got a great defensive line. So I think that Kyler Murray won't be able to go all over and do what he does all week. So I do want to see, if they do well, I want to see Arizona run things through Marquise Brown. Last week he had 14 catches and 140 yards, and that is exactly why they brought him over here.
The duel of the number 1 picks from Oklahoma just a few years ago. Yeah, Heisman winners. I'll go against. I'll go with the Cardinals. The Cardinals have a little bit more on the line. I think they're in a tough division. They're playing really bad football. Their franchise quarterback just got this whole big contract. Then you had the details of it about his work ethics and now
the war zone clause.
Yeah, it's just not looking good right now. And you have to find an answer. And the best way to find an answer is just win. You win, everyone stops talking about it. Everyone stops worrying about it. We saw what the Cardinals can do when they're clicking. Kyler Murray looks a little bit more comfortable with Marquise Brown last few weeks. I hope that continues to grow. They're not far away from getting DeAndre Hopkins. If they're able to notch off just a handful of wins, maybe get back to that 500 range.
Yeah,
they're right back in it. I think with the way that the NFC West is playing, it's getting these early wins now might be or early losses now might be okay, but they can't fall too big in that hole. If they're able to get to 2-2, maybe like 3-2 by the time Hopkins is back, or 4-2, 4-3. They're looking at a really good situation, I think, for the rest of the season. It starts with these games right now, and I think this is really important for everything going on with the Cardinals and everything going on in Arizona. They have to answer. This is the game to do it.
Yeah, so I like that. I do like the Carolina spread, like a 2. Like I think it's kind of Vegas telling us it's going to be very close game.
That's right. That's perfect.
It's kind of a weird thing because Arizona, it's one of those things where I feel like if they do win, it's going to be
over on the 43. I don't know
why.
Over
on the 43.
You're telling me both these teams can't score 24 points?
No way. Even last week we watched New Orleans, great defense, give up a huge game to the Panthers. So I like that too. I'll take the over on that.
Exactly. All right, I love that. Let's move right along. AFC West showdown. Denver Broncos making their way to Vegas to take on the Raiders. -2.5 to Las Vegas. 45.5 over under. Las Vegas. Only team to be 0-3. Texans 0-2-1. They got away with that one.
Not good.
Not good. This is not where everyone was expecting them to be. And on the flip side, honestly, Denver Broncos, not at all where people thought, including myself, where they were going to be.
Gotta say, they are the most unwatchable team to me this year. They are exactly, watching them is exactly what I thought that Jacksonville was going to be like this year.
That Monday night football game last week. Oh my! Or Sunday Night Football this week in Week 3.
It's unbelievable.
What was that?
It's unbelievable that is a primetime game.
What was that?
I don't know, man. Denver, I get it. You pay Russell Wilson in the offseason. You give up your whole future for him. You give him $250 million. Great, but oh my God, like this is Russell Wilson. He's got to be able to throw.
That's under a quarter. Don't worry.
You're right. Yeah. So he should be so lucky. But I mean, this is the thing for me. Like you said, the Raiders got zero margin for error. And the errors that Denver makes are so evident that they can take advantage of that,
I absolutely agree with you.
Know.
It's similar to what I was saying about the Cardinals. You got to win this game.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You go into 0-4, new coach, you make all these off-season pickups, you're spending all this money, and you go 0-4 in a tough division like this.
You can't do it.
It's unacceptable.
And you're at home right now. You're favored.
That means no popping bottles, though, in the third quarters, Raiders fans. All right?
Your team's up. Deal off and only do it in the fourth quarter.
You should only be doing it in the fourth quarter when your team's in win formation, which is kneeling. All right? If it's the third quarter and your team's up just by 2 touchdowns, anything can happen. 21-point deficit was overcome in the fourth quarter this season already. That should speak volumes so it can happen on any given Sunday.
Yeah.
I'm going with the Raiders in this one. The Broncos don't look good. If the Broncos want to look good, they need to recreate what they did on that last drive when they scored a touchdown, and that needs to be done every single drive because that's a Russell Wilson we all know and love. I don't know what's going on. With him right now. It's just not the same. Maybe it's that rapport that he doesn't quite have with his wide receivers that come in there kind of midway through the offseason, but that needs to start to get figured out. But there's a lot on the line right now for Las Vegas. If they don't get this win right now, you're definitely hitting the panic button, and your chances of making the playoffs is already at 11% right now.
Yeah.
You pretty much hit zero statistically by the time you go to 0-4.
You're going to be in big trouble.
That's essentially almost a quarter of the way through the season.
Kansas City in the division.
Yeah, especially when you got KC in the division, you still have the Chargers, and if you lose right now, that put the Broncos at 3-1.
Yeah.
So then you have to deal with the Broncos.
It's true. I mean, like you mentioned, a huge factor of this game is the receivers, the offensive skill players. Cortland Sutton right now seems to be the only thing that's actually working for Denver. 5th in receiving yards right now. Definitely throw the over on him in your little parlay if you're even looking at this game. But there's the fact here. I'm looking at Josh McDaniels, like you said. New coach starting 0-4. Your back's against the wall. You're favored. You're at home. Division opponent. These are the games that, as a good NFL head coach, these are the ones that you're expected to win. So I will expect Mr. Josh McDaniels to show up, unlike he did the last 3 weeks in the fourth quarter, have a good game plan, get guys ready to go. Then Devontae Adams, 17 targets in the first week. He has 10 over the last 2. And it's kind of crazy. I mean, it's insane. I mean, in the last 2 weeks, he has 7 catches combined. You know what I'm saying? Devontae Adams, you want to win games? Throw Devontae Adams the ball 15 times a game. Watch Aaron Rodgers the last 10 years be thrown to those guys. That's how you get it done. And Hunter Renfrow has struggled a little bit this year, but he needs to have a good statistical output this year.
Concussion.
He is concussion, yeah.
Missed practice today.
I'm saying, he had those 2 turnovers. I'm saying he needs to come. If he comes back, that's going to be tough. And, Darren Waller as well. Darren Waller's going up against some good linebackers here in Denver. So I'm just, I'm interested in Surtain versus Devontae Adams, the wide receiver cornerback matchup, definitely. But I don't know who I like. The running back question, I know a lot of people have been asking this week, like Javonte Williams, Melvin Gordon, and then Josh Jacobs. And I
like Denver running backs better for some reason.
I
think that I think that the Derek Carr is going to have to pass the ball a lot in this one.
I agree. Yeah,
the Broncos have a good defense. They're playing good defensive ball. It's a 425 game, so should be a good one.
I like that. I like that.
All right, let's move. Last 2 games.
The games of the week.
These are our games of the week. We have the Buffalo Bills making their way to Baltimore to take on the Ravens. Buffalo currently favored by -3, 51.5 point over under. Love that spread on
biggest one of the week.
I will take the over on that one right off the bat. Buffalo coming off a pretty surprising loss. What are your thoughts?
Last second loss, it seemed like everything was going right for them, and then all of a sudden Josh Allen, who has the biggest arm in the league, goes through a 5-yard pass back of the end zone. Right to the guy's feet. So Isaiah McKenzie, if that was right in his chest, that guy's making that catch. Buffalo's winning. We're talking about them being undefeated, going crazy. But I got to say, these are two MVP candidates. This is a very rare MVP candidate matchup that we're going to have this season. Lamar Jackson hosting. I like Baltimore at home. Definitely interests me. We've been there. We know that crowd brings it. And, I think that it's going to be very interesting. These coaches, Sean McDermott, John Harbaugh, very different coaching styles. They have committee running backs. They have mobile quarterbacks. They have a lot of receivers. How do you feel about just these two teams overall?
I really like Baltimore in this one. I think that this is their game for sure. I think the Bills are definitely going to put up a fight. I think it's going to be a great freaking game. I think it's going to be within that -3 spread for sure. But I just think it's going to go to the Ravens. I think that you're looking at two MVP caliber quarterbacks right now, and I think that Lamar is only that one step above because of what he's been doing with the running game. Just coming off a 117-yard running game out a few weeks ago, had another 100-yard game this weekend. So it's just like the way that he's playing.
He's fifth right now in the whole league in rushing yards.
And, we saw him a few years ago when he played Houston. He got the MVP season. It's because he was running the ball, and he just looks really comfortable.
Yeah.
J.K. Dobbins is back. He got a healthy amount of loads of carries last season. I think we'll get a healthy amount of load work this season or this upcoming weekend. Yeah. But I think that the Bills are definitely going to be there to play, and it's definitely going to be interesting to see Marlon Humphrey against Stephon Diggs and Marcus Peters against Stephon Diggs. But I just really like what the Baltimore Ravens have been doing all season. I think that this is just with their home fans coming in against Buffalo, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, with Buffalo, we know that. Yeah, Real Fan Dan. Shout out Real Fan Dan. He'll be there. We're going to be watching. And the great thing is, Baltimore, they bring it, like I said, their run game here is key. We talk about these teams that manage the clock, hold the time of possession, they hold it to the last minute, and then when they're in a high-scoring affair, they got the ball back, and all they got to do is make a drive. And both of these quarterbacks are quarterbacks that you would want in the 2-minute drill. That 51.5, I mean, man, this could be a 35-35 game going in the last 2 minutes, and whoever's got the ball, hold on, because it's going to be pretty crazy. I'm excited, like you said, for this matchup because this is just two teams that are like the top of the AFC. This could be like an AFC championship matchup. I don't want to be too ahead about it, but Buffalo second highest offense in terms of yardage. Baltimore fourth. So you're talking about a lot of output, a lot of fantasy. Start Stephon, start Gabe Davis, Dawson, start J.K., all those guys. Get Mark Andrews in there. If you don't have him, I don't know what you're doing, but get everybody in there. This is going to be a big high-scoring one, a lot of output, a lot of volume. It's going to be on the defenses. A lot of these two defenses are very good, but Buffalo's defense is unbelievable. I mean, I don't know, man.
They're absolutely playing great. We've seen a little bit of a step back from the Ravens. Granted, their two main cornerbacks are coming back from injuries, so you take a little bit of that rust to come out shortly. They are letting up a lot of points. Something to monitor for sure. We saw the huge fourth quarter comeback that Tua that I just mentioned was against the Ravens.
Yep.
And Josh Allen could definitely be that guy to make a comeback win against them for sure. I just really think that the way that this offense is going, they're going to keep it going. I think the fans are going to be there. We just talked about Real Fan Dan.
Yeah.
And I like them in this one. Moving on to our last great game of the week, game to watch, Sunday Night Football. Kansas City Chiefs making their way to Tampa Bay. Chiefs currently favored by -1, 40-point over-under. Now, when I say going to Tampa Bay, there's a Hurricane Ian currently hitting the state of Florida. Something to monitor. There's talks that it may be moved to Minnesota because they're currently playing in the UK. Just something to monitor this weekend. Pay attention to that. You might have a Chiefs Tampa Bay game in Minnesota.
Yeah, no, it's definitely something interesting. I know Sean is incredibly interested because you get to US Bank Stadium and you'll be like, wait, that's supposed to be purple. But
why is it purple? We know that these teams are red.
I feel like Sean said this off camera, but this is going to be an interesting matchup because 2 years ago this was one of the biggest matchups in the playoffs. This was now again.
This was the Super Bowl 55 matchup.
Then after that it was 55 matchup, and then you got last year we had another matchup with them. This year it feels different. You were saying no Tyreek Hill. It does make a difference. We don't really know. Outside of Travis Kelce, who's going to get the targets every week? Is it Juju? Is it, Mecole Hardman? Is it Scantling? I don't know. But this week, I have to say, the Tampa Bay Bucks, they have been disappointing due to, wide receiver injuries. They got Mike Evans back this week. I do think this could be a great opportunity for Leonard Fournette to get involved this week. But I don't know. I like Tampa at home if they were in Tampa. But I don't know what the crowd sitch is. So I am going to weirdly go with KC because Mahomes, he always feels like he owes Brady. So I feel like every time I bet against Tom Brady, it's not good. But
you did it last week. It worked.
I did. I'll do it again. I'll go with KC. this has to be the time. You know, we've seen Pat do all this stuff already, the 5 touchdowns, all that. So I want him to find the number 1 receiver this week. The Buccaneers, their defense, really their only weakness is their secondary at times. So you got to take advantage of that. But it's definitely going to be interesting to see Mike Evans back this week.
Yeah, you know, it's definitely not what we saw the last 2 seasons, these matchups. This time, I think last season, Brady was already like 12 touchdowns in. He has 2 right now. You could see that Tyreek Hill not being there last week against the Colts was just so evident. They didn't have like that guy they could just rely on right there. If it's in Minnesota and people in Minnesota are able to buy tickets, I'll go with KC as well. The reason why is that there's this huge connection between Minnesota and KC. There's like a lot of people from Minnesota travel there and vice versa. So I have a feeling that there's a lot more Kansas City fans than there are Tampa Bay fans in the state of Minnesota. And that's why I would lean towards them, is that they might have a little bit of a crowd supporting them instead of it being like a COVID game where it's kind of empty and 50-50. Yeah. But that's if the tickets, I don't know what they're going to do for tickets, if that's going to be available to people in Minnesota. It's something to monitor. Unless you're able to find something right now.
No, I'm not.
So
I don't know.
It's something to just like pay attention to because they're probably still deciding where it's going to be. But that being said, if it is in Florida, I'll lean with Tampa Bay. I think that Brady and this Bucs team needs to get back on track.
Sunday Night Football too.
It's Sunday Night Football.
His primetime record is unbelievable. I mean, it's just insane. I mean, he's 29-11, I believe, right now.
That's good
in games. So. Not bad.
Not bad at all. And I just think that they know kind of what's at stake after that loss last week. They made that mistake. As they're going for 2, they're trying to call timeout. There's no more timeouts.
Yeah.
The clock's now expired. They got to go back 5. They don't make the pass. There's a lot of miscommunication. Just not what's the norm for a Tom Brady offense. Yeah. Granted, he's depleted of all of his wide receivers at this point, but still, it's just not what you're used to seeing. It kind of reminded you back to that Bears game where he's saying. Fourth down and it's turnovers now, or third down and it's turnovers now.
He was not happy.
It's not happy. So I just think this is a game to rebound on. We saw last week that the way to beat the Chiefs is stifling defense, and the Bucs have that. The Bucs have a great pass rush. We've seen Vita Vea drop back into pass for pass coverage.
Shout out Vita Vea for doing his backpedals.
Like an animal force a fumble on Aaron Jones, and I don't know. They can just throw together some different schemes, and I like that. I'll lean with Tampa Bay.
Yeah,
if they're in Florida.
I think we're getting spoiled. Finally, we get a nice little primetime game with a couple of elite quarterbacks. I'm hoping that they both bring it though. Like we're both talking about, they haven't shown us that threshold. But every time that we doubt these guys, by the end of the season, we're like, oh, God, here they are. We're calling for them.
There have not been a lot of good primetime games so far this season. Let's get a good one this week. I think every football fan deserves it, especially after what we saw this past weekend in Week 3.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. That's all the time that we have. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank you guys for checking us out and joining us for another Sunday Superflex. So just remember, Just Saying Football on YouTube, justsayingfootball.com, and Just Saying No GWJS on Instagram for all your video and article updates, as well as previews. And, check us out and enjoy your Sunday.
Enjoy.